Hey everybody, my new lesson plan book for the year 2020-2021 came in the other day. I thought I'd take you all through how I plan these lessons. Thought I'd give you a little bit of a look into my workflow. I might have some ideas for you. Take them, leave them, give me some feedback. Let's do it. Alrighty everyone, so as you know, I'm just finished year 11 of teaching, heading into year 12. And in that 12 years of teaching, I've been experimenting with a lot of different types of systems for planning my lessons and keeping myself organized as a teacher. I've gone through some digital experiences and some systems and websites, and I'll do those in a future video. But I keep coming back to this one. And this is a specific planner from a company called Schoolhouse Publications, and I'm going to put a link down below. Normally these planners come in kind of this generic blue cover. So this is a new one this year. And I mean, I just end up putting stickers and stuff all over the front anyway. So for me, the flower will probably be covered up. But I mean, it's still pretty nice to look at. This company doesn't give me any sort of endorsement. I'm not backed by these guys at all. I just really like the planner, and I've come back to it a lot. The reason being, I'll show you the brand new one first. The reason being is it's split up into a lot of really useful sections that a teacher could use. So right off the bat, you have your months at a glance. And what I end up doing, because I like to stay super digital, what I end up doing is keeping my book with me. If somebody gives me some sort of important date, I'm going to mark it down in here right away. And then on a regular basis, potentially at the end of every school day, I'll pop into this calendar. And if there's anything that I put in here during that day, then I'm going to transfer it over to my Google Calendar just to make sure that I've got it. But right off the bat, you've got your 2-page month spreads. Then you've got a section for notes. And then it gets into the daily plan. And these are the pages that I use every day. So I'll bring it in a little bit here, and you can see how the daily plan pages are broken down. You've got your date up here. If you're going on some sort of specific system, day 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, whatever you've got there, you can keep track. Reminders for the day. This is where I usually put big to-dos or big events that are happening that day. And then I break it down in terms of the periods and the subjects. So usually I'll be teaching 5 classes or 5 blocks a day. So 2 of these will be 1 block. So this could be block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, block 5. Then the lesson plan. Now, beginning teachers, I know you're coming out of Teachers College with the amazing formatted lesson plans, 2 to 3 pages typed for every lesson with outcomes and oh yeah, and those are amazing to do when you're in Teachers College. But I've tended to find when you kind of get out into the real world and you're working with high school students day in and day out, and you've got things to mark and report cards to do, ain't nobody got time for those really formatted out lesson plans. So my lesson plan for each day, essentially I fit in here, and I'm going to go through one of my old books to show you. But it goes just bullet point by bullet point. Here are the main activities that happen during the lesson. And then over here, if there's any assignments that are going to be due, or reminders that I have to tell the class, or any due dates that I decide and set in that class, this is where I'm going to write those down. So every day has a daily plan. And then in the morning, I can just open my plan book that day to the day and have the book ready to go with me. So you keep trucking through the big section of daily plans. And then you get into this section here that has places for seating plans, comments and records. You can put your timetable in there. There's notes for meetings. You can back up parent communication. There's record keeping, resources, a directory for important people you need to know. So this is also a really good book to have sitting out ready for your substitute teacher that might be coming in, because you can put your seating plan. This is math, grade 7, and Johnny and Billy and Sue and Jeff. Yeah, I know I'm super old school. They can have the seating plan there. And then when the students try to pull one over, then the seating plan is there. This section down here, this is just a section for observations of students that you might have during the day. Maybe there's a student of concern, somebody that you want to keep on your radar, that you want to keep in mind, that you could just even put like a first initial or something there for legal sake, for being, not super transparent there, just for yourself. Put a first initial, and then you can keep track of some comments. And then when that comes time for parent-teacher interviews, or if that comes time to meet with your administration, potentially to bring up some concerns, to put supports in place for that student, then you have a record of your observations here. That comments and records continues over to the second page, seating plans for more students. Then we get into the meeting notes. So every time I go to a staff meeting, this is where I'm going to just quickly jot down any important dates or things that are told to us, and then I'll have a record of the whole year in terms of staff meetings, and there's a few pages for meeting notes. And this is a super effective section I really like to use. This is the parent communication section. This is where, when I do parent-teacher interviews, this is where if I make a phone call, if I send an email, whatever I'm going to do to contact the parent, whether for a good reason to build a student up, to tell the parents about something great they did that day, or for a reason of concern where I can get the parents' support and we can come together to make a plan, I'm going to document that communication in each section here. And again, for names and stuff, I can keep it super simple. I mean, technically, this book is only for me and potentially a substitute that might see it, but it could be left out on your desk and whatever, and student wandering eyes might take a gander through. So you can always keep it super simple and short in through here. And then in through here, I'm putting, made a phone call this time, this day, we discussed this and this, the plan of action was this, we set a meeting date for here. So I'm just backing up any parent communication that I've got, so that in the future, if I need to refer back to something, if admin asks about what I said when I contacted a parent, whatever might happen, then I've got my backup here. Parent communication. And then marks. For each class, each subject, you can put your student names, you put your assignments, what they're out of, and then you can put the marks down. And I'll show you in one of my other books over here what I've done with marks. But for me teaching band, what I like to do is I like to have the mark sheet right in front of me on my music stand. So when I do a band test, a playing test, I just fly through the class, top to bottom, alphabetical order or volunteers or whatever I'm going to do. But I have the mark sheet open and I've got the rubrics that I use sitting beside me. And I'll do another video again in the future on the rubrics I use for playing tests. But then once I mark on the rubric over here what I'm going to give them for the playing test, then I quickly mark that down on this sheet of paper as well. That at the end of the class, I can give them their rubrics back in real time in that class. And I already have a record of their marks here. They get their rubric back, and it's not like a normal test where you have to wait a week for the teacher to mark it and you're wondering how you did. For the playing test that I do, the rubrics go back as soon as I can possibly get them back. And I mean, there are exceptions to every rule. There are some classes where I may not have this book here. Some classes where I have to say, okay, students, I can show you your marks on the rubric, but I have to keep the rubrics until I can get them entered in the computer. But this way, I have all of my marks written down, and then at the end of the day, all the students leave, then I can quickly pop into PowerSchool, and I can add this assignment, and I can add all of their marks one by one. And that playing test is done, entered, and ready to go. So records all the way through, you keep flipping, lots of places for marks. Then you get into this section for resources. And what I've used for this is a list of, for that year, what textbooks am I using, potentially in non-band classes. I teach language arts and all kinds of different things, drama, whatever. What textbooks am I using in what classes? For language arts, what are the novels I'm going to use, the names, the authors, some quick notes. This novel this year did not work for this group. They didn't appreciate this character or this theme, etc. So then I can look back and see, oh yeah, I may not revisit this novel because it didn't work for that group. So I keep track of resources there. And then at the very end of the book is a spot for your directory. If you've got people that you need to keep track of, colleagues or professional contacts or whatever you need, then I don't really use this part of the book because, again, I'm as digital as possible as well. So I'm just going to my iPhone for inputting contacts that I might need to know. But yeah, there's the directory. So super quick, I'm going to show you, was my lesson plan book from my very first year of teaching back in, I think that was 2009, 2010. I also really like these books because then at the end of the year, you have a record of your whole year. It's kind of like a memory book or a scrapbook. I dug these out to start thinking about doing this video for you and started flipping through some of them and really brought back some memories of previous years teaching. So I'm really looking forward at the end of my career to having these to flip back through periodically to just remember why I did this and the great times I had. So yeah, this was the front of it. Again, I just end up putting crazy stuff on it. As you can see, 2009, 2010, we were back in the iPod era there. I had just gone to a wedding of one of my good friends from home and her now husband. So I was like, yeah, I want to remember that. So I stuck that on there. I'm a drummer. That's what I do. That's an old cell phone number. That's back when I used to live in Jasper and taught at Jasper Junior Senior High School. The way that I was introduced to these books, the Jasper Junior Senior High School administration actually set aside a tiny little budget each year for any teachers that wanted one of these books from Schoolhouse Publications. You would just put your order in at the end of the previous year, and then they would actually provide each teacher that wanted one the plan book, this Schoolhouse Publications book, each year. So I was introduced to them this way. And now that I'm in a new division, they don't do that, but I'm purchasing my own because I love these so much. So I flipped through, and I'm getting into my calendar and I was crossing days off. And as you can see, my very first year of teaching, I was starting to feel it. And you're going to see once we get close to Christmas, you're going to see a Christmas countdown that I put on at the top of the pages. I was just ready for my first real break as a first year teacher. So I would just put important things in the calendar and then I would move them over to my Google Calendar as I need to. There's also a space for notes on the side here just in case you need to remember something. And then we get into the daily plan. So there's the very first day that I taught. I'm going to say that's probably not the first day that I taught. I'm going to say the first few days were probably me trying to fly by the seat of my pants, things like doing opening day stuff, student handbook stuff. So September 14th, 2009, that was kind of the first real day that I really started to kind of settle into my groove. And the thing that I wanted to bring your attention to here is I use this in every book that I do, right from my very first year of teaching. I use this highlighting system. I'm a big fan of seeing things highlighted and color coding things. It just works well for my brain. So my administration at that time, and current administration as well, whenever they take a look at your lesson plans, they want to see that you have an idea of the outcomes that you're addressing, what formative assessments are you doing, what summative assessments are you doing. You need to kind of break that stuff down. And I found the easiest way to break that down is just highlighting things. So I would be writing all my important things in and then go back and just do a really quick highlight of the outcomes that I'm going to do. In this year, any outcomes that I was addressing in that lesson, those are going to be purple. Assessment 4 learning strategies. The assessment 4, these are my formative assessments. Assessment of, these were the big like keystone pieces, tests and exams and stuff. Any discussion questions I was putting in. So every book I do use this highlight strategy. The colors change a little bit, my categories change, but this is a way I can say, if my principal ever comes to me and says, Jonathan, I want to see your lesson plans. I want to see your plan book. I want to see what you're doing and what you're planning each day. Do you know what curriculums you're doing? I can just hand this book over and I can say, yeah, here's the code. If you want to know what outcomes I'm addressing, look for the purple. If you want to know what my formative strategies are, look for blue. And I'm human. So there are days where some of these aren't highlighted. There are days where there's no highlighting just because I'm under a time crunch. But that's kind of my system that I'm using. So as you can see, I start flipping through. Yellow was always just important things to know, important things to remind students about. So again, I'm flipping through. There's all my formative assessments, my kind of assessments on the fly. Oh, there's a summative assessment for students to tell them about. Oh, apparently I was sick this day. So just to give you something that I need to, apparently something I need to really remember for myself, because a baritone student really needed something from me. Hey, get that done. So there, up at the top there's where I'm starting to go, okay, I'm ready for a break. First year, I'm starting to feel this. Is it Christmas yet? Is it Christmas yet? So that's what my lessons are looking like. I kind of like it as well because I will make just random notes to myself. If there's a day I want to remind myself about something that I need to remember, I think I flipped past it here, but I'll see if I can find it. If not, I can skip one of these days. I can just go. Yeah, I missed it. Oh, no, here. So if I'm having a meeting with a colleague or something and we're making some notes to tell ourselves about, I'll just take a page and say, I'm just going to write down what I need to write down here. Yeah, so that was looks like a sub plan that I would have stapled in there. Any notes that people give me, I'll put in here. Yeah, so as you can see here, this was a page for a guitar class that I had. Then I've got assignments, I've got what they're out of, and then as they do the test, I'm just writing down their marks. Then I can go back to the computer and I can, at the end of the day, and then I can quickly put those in, and then students have them digital and they can see their rubric as well. So that is my way of using these books. Again, I'm going to put a link down in the description for Schoolhouse Publications. If you're interested, take a look. I think one of these books, I think this book this year was something around the $30 mark. And for the benefits that it gives me every year, that is absolutely worth it. I'd recommend it. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, talk to me in the comments section. I respond to everybody that I possibly can. Let me know, do you do things different? Do you use a different planning book, a different company? Who do you recommend if it's not Schoolhouse Publications? And I'm always open to checking other things out as well. Thanks all so much. Y'all rock. Have a really good summer. Try not to think too much about lesson plans and get ready for next year. It's only July. Take some time for you. Otherwise, have a good one.